Every defensive coordinator in the WNBA has the same nightmare. It doesn't start with a play call. It doesn't start with a screen or a pick and roll. It starts the moment Caitlin Clark crosses half court. That's when the panic sets in, because the point guard assigned to her has a decision to make, and neither option is good. If she backs off and gives Clark room, the ball is already leaving her hand from 30 feet out. If she lunges forward to cut off the space, she's already been beaten by the hesitation dribble before she finishes the thought. There is no comfortable position. There is no safe read. There is only damage control, and even that rarely works. That's not a media narrative built to sell tickets. That's what happened on a nightly basis throughout her entire rookie season. And here's the part that has every defensive staff in the league staring at film until 2 in the morning heading into 2026. She hasn't peaked yet, not even close. What you've been watching isn't Caitlin Clark at her best. What you've been watching is Caitlin Clark at her floor, and the WNBA has absolutely no answer for it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on exactly why that's true. Not just the highlight reel version, not just the numbers, though the numbers are staggering, but the actual mechanical, tactical, structural reasons why the league's best defensive minds are drawing up schemes that might make her more dangerous, not less. We're connecting the dots on what it looks like on the floor, why it works at a level that defies conventional basketball logic, and why the version of her playing right now is the least threatening she will ever be in her career. If that sounds like a bold statement, stick around. By the time we're done, it won't sound bold at all. It'll sound obvious. Let's start with the three-point shot. Not because it's the flashiest part of her game, though it absolutely is, but because it isn't just a skill. It's a weapon that dismantles entire defensive systems before a single piece of contact is made. To understand why, you have to understand how professional defenses are actually built. Every scheme in the WNBA operates around an invisible boundary, an assumed range, a line past which coaches tell their players, don't worry about her shooting from there, focus on protecting the paint and the mid-range. That boundary is the foundation everything else sits on. Help side rotations are calibrated to it, closeout angles are designed around it, weak side positioning is set based on it. The entire defensive structure is a house, and that boundary is the concrete slab it's sitting on. Clark demolished the slab, then moved it back 10 feet. She pulls up from the logo, 28, 29, sometimes 30 feet from the rim, with the same mechanical conviction most professional players reserve for wide-open rhythm jumpers from 18. These are not shot clock desperation heaves. They are not panic shots or gambles. They are deliberate, in-rhythm decisions made because she has already mapped the trajectory before the ball even leaves her hand. The arc is high, the rotation is perfect, the release is clean, and by the time the nearest defender even registers what is happening, the net is already moving and the damage is already done. There is no recovering from that. You can't close out on a shot that's already been made. Watch what this forces a defense to actually do. The point guard responsible for Clark has to engage at half court, not at the three-point line, not at the top of the key, right there, 30 feet from the basket, uncomfortably early, before the offense has even set. That single adjustment cascades through the entire defensive structure like a crack spreading across glass. Help defenders shift forward to compensate for the guard being pulled out early. The weak side rotates to cover the gap that just opened. Suddenly, before a single dribble has been taken in the half court, Indiana has a numerical advantage. The play hasn't started. Clark hasn't received the ball. Her gravity alone, the mere possibility that she might shoot, manufactured that advantage the moment she crossed center court. That is not normal basketball. That is something else entirely. But here's where it gets complicated for defenses, because that range, that gravity, that impossible shooting threat is only half of what makes her so difficult to stop. The other half activates the moment a defense tries to do something about it. When teams identified the shooting threat and made the adjustment, sending the trap early, committing the extra body, daring her to give it up, they believed they had found the answer. Collapse on her space, force the ball out of her hands, make someone else beat you. It's a classic principle of defensive basketball, and it works against almost every elite shooter in the world. Against Clark, it became the worst possible decision a defense could make, because her passing doesn't complement her scoring. It specifically, surgically punishes the exact defensive adjustment designed to neutralize her shooting. In her rookie season, Clark didn't just lead the WNBA in assists, she broke the single-game record with 19 dimes against Dallas, surpassing a mark that had stood for years, and doing it in a way that felt less like a record being broken and more like a message being sent. But the number, as impressive as it is secondary to the mechanism underneath it. As defenders collapsed on her three-point threat, Clark found passing windows those defenders were absolutely certain didn't exist. Bounce passes threading through traffic with pinpoint accuracy, behind-the-back flicks to backdoor cutters arriving at exactly the right moment. Full-court bullets landing in a teammate's hands in full stride with enough precision to allow an uncontested layup before the defense could recover. These weren't highlight plays made in isolation, they were precision instruments that converted defensive over-rotation into layups at a rate that was genuinely unprecedented for a player in her first professional season.
The court vision operating underneath all of it functions at a frequency that's difficult to fully process in real time. She doesn't react to open cutters. She anticipates them 3 seconds before the lane even materializes. She drops the pass through an impossibly tight window before the cutter has finished their move, before the opening is technically even visible to anyone else on the floor, and she's already reading the next possession while the net is still moving. If you watch her eyes instead of the ball, you'll see her scanning the floor 2 plays ahead of everyone else. She's not watching what's happening, she's watching what's about to happen. Her teammates felt it almost immediately. They started cutting harder, setting screens with more conviction, squaring to the basket before the catch because they had learned, not been told, but learned through repetition and experience that if Clark has the ball and they get open, the pass is coming. Not maybe, not sometimes, it's coming. That kind of certainty changes how players move. It changes their aggression, their timing, their willingness to attack. And that trust, that deep fundamental belief that the ball will find them if they do their job, that's what converts a collection of talented individual players into a coordinated offensive system. She built that in year 1, before she had a full season under her belt, before she had fully adapted to the professional game. She had already fundamentally altered how her teammates played. And now defenses are stuck in a loop they can't escape. Guard her tight on the perimeter and she'll pull up from the logo before you can recover. Drop off and give her room and she's already threading a pass through your overloaded paint before you've had a chance to close. Send the trap and she'll find the backdoor cut you left wide open by trapping. Every single adjustment produces a counter. The question isn't whether she'll punish your scheme, it's which punishment she decides on. Here's what most breakdowns miss entirely. The offensive brilliance is the story everyone leads with, and it's warranted. But the physical part of her rookie season, the part that tells you the most about what kind of player she actually is, was what happened when the league tried to take all of that apart by force. Veteran defenders entered that first season with a very specific plan. Hard screens, body checks off the ball, forearms on drives, the kind of grinding, calculated, sustained physicality that sends an unmistakable message to every hyped rookie who arrives with big expectations and bigger press coverage. This is our league, and you have not earned a single thing yet. It's not dirty. It's professional basketball. It's the initiation every great player goes through. And for a lot of college stars arriving on the back of enormous hype, that message lands hard. The game accelerates beyond what they trained for. The contact disrupts their rhythm. The speed makes their reads a half-second late. The hype gradually fades into a solid but ultimately average professional career. That's the blueprint. It works constantly. Clark didn't flinch. She absorbed every hit, got back up, and played harder. Not emotional, not destabilized, not rattled into bad decisions or shrinking into safe spots on the floor. More precise, more dangerous than she was before the contact. She didn't respond by avoiding physical situations or retreating to the comfortable corners of the court where she wouldn't take shots. She used the physicality as information. If a defender bodied her off the ball, she changed her angle and converted that contact into a screen she wasn't originally going to get, putting that same defender in a worse position than before. If a guard played her tight on the perimeter, one hard dribble right, a crossover left, and the overcommitted defender was watching a layup or an open kickout from the wrong side of the play. Every time the league deployed aggression against her, she found a way to convert it into a quantifiable advantage for Indiana, not occasionally, consistently. That is not toughness in the conventional athletic sense. Every great player is tough. Toughness is table stakes at this level. What Clark demonstrated was something rarer and harder to develop: intelligence wrapped in composure, the ability to take incoming pressure, process it in real time, and redirect it into an advantage. That combination, intelligence and composure, operating simultaneously under duress, is the rarest quality in professional sports, and it is the one thing, above every other thing, that you genuinely cannot coach into a player. Either they have it, or they don't. Clark has it to a degree that veteran observers of the game were openly struggling to describe. The Indiana Fever are the proof of concept. Before Clark arrived, Indiana was one of the league's struggling franchises. Attendance was low, national television appearances were scarce, the team existed at the margins of the league's attention, despite genuine talent on the roster. Aaliyah Boston was already a rising star, one of the most skilled young big players in the game. Kelsey Mitchell was a proven scorer capable of carrying offensive possessions. The talent was present, the pieces were there. What was missing was the connective tissue, the player whose presence forces every single defensive decision on the floor and simultaneously unlocks every offensive option around her, the player who makes the whole system breathe differently.
Then Clark arrived, and the offense that had been predictable, manageable, and structurally stagnant developed an entirely different pulse. Boston started receiving easier post touches because defenses could no longer afford to sag off the perimeter. If they dropped, Clark was pulling up from 28 feet. Mitchell found open rhythm threes at a rate she never previously experienced because Clark's gravity was pulling defenders out of passing lanes that used to be perpetually clogged. The fast break became lethal. Indiana climbed to the top of the league in fast break points with Clark as the engine, grabbing a rebound and pushing the pace before her second dribble, already scanning 60 feet up the floor for the streaking wing, delivering the ball ahead of the defense before they could get organized. Games that had previously drawn 4,000 fans were suddenly selling out at 17,000. Road arenas that had never sold out for a WNBA game in their history filled to capacity, because people across the country felt like they needed to be there, needed to see what happened next. Fans who had never watched a WNBA game were setting alarms and buying jerseys. That is not a marketing phenomenon. Marketing doesn't fill arenas. Players fill arenas. Specifically, transformative players who make the game feel like it could produce something remarkable on any given possession fill arenas. Clark did that from day one. Before the league had fully adjusted, before Indiana had fully built around her, before she had played a single full professional season. The gravitational effect of one player on an entire organizational ecosystem, attendance, revenue, roster performance, national visibility, was more dramatic and more immediate than anything the league had seen in a generation. The Steph Curry comparisons come up constantly, and they're not wrong, but they're incomplete in a way that matters. Both players fundamentally altered how defenses have to organize themselves. Both extended effective shooting range to distances that were previously considered reckless by professional standards. Both created offensive ecosystems where their gravity alone, the threat of them shooting, not even the actual shot, was worth 15 points a game to teammates who hadn't changed their own games at all. The comparisons are fair. The parallels are real. But Clark arrives in 2026 with something Curry didn't fully possess at the same stage of his development: the playmaking instincts and passing architecture of a true point guard, layered directly on top of the scoring instincts and shooting mechanics of an elite shooting guard. Curry has always been primarily a scorer who passes. Clark is something harder to categorize, a passer who scores from anywhere at any distance with a point guard's ability to orchestrate the entire floor simultaneously. The combination of those two things existing in the same player at 22 years old in her first professional season is not something the WNBA has developed a defensive framework for, because a defensive framework for it has never needed to exist before. That's not hyperbole. The league has seen elite scorers. It's seen elite playmakers. The convergence of both skill sets at the level Clark operates, combined with the range and the composure and the physical resilience, that specific combination is new, and the defenses trying to solve it are working without a roadmap. Teams had partial success early in the rookie season, pressuring her with aggressive full-court defense. It worked for about 3 weeks. She responded by improving her ball handling under pressure, changing speeds more effectively through traffic, and turning that full-court trap into fast break opportunities running in the opposite direction. When defenses sagged off to eliminate the drive, she punished them from deeper distances than before. When they tightened on the perimeter, she drove through contact and finished or found the cutter. Each adjustment the league produced was met with a counter she deployed not across an offseason, not over months of film study and practice, across the course of a single game. The adaptation speed is as alarming to defensive coaches as any specific skill she possesses. You can scheme against a tendency. You cannot scheme against the player who identifies and dismantles your scheme in real time within 20 minutes of tip-off. There were nights where you could literally watch it happen in front of you. The first quarter, a defense would execute their game plan, tight pressure, early traps, limiting her pull-up opportunities. Clark would absorb it, process it, adjust. By the third quarter, the exact mechanics of that game plan were being turned against the team running it. The trap became a fast break. The tight coverage became an open cutter. The physical pressure became a foul on a shot she had specifically engineered to draw. It happened so consistently that it stopped feeling accidental and started feeling like a message. I know what you're doing, I know why you're doing it, and here is what I'm going to do to it. Coaches noticed, players noticed, the league noticed, but noticing it and solving it are two entirely different problems. Here is the number that should genuinely unsettle every defensive coordinator currently drawing up their 2026 scheme. The player who already shoots from the logo, the player who already led the league in assists, the player who already warps defensive structures before receiving her first half-court touch of the game, the player who already converted the league's best physical pressure into fast break points, the player who already transformed a struggling franchise into a sold-out, nationally televised must-watch event.
That player is 22 years old. Her body is still physically adapting to professional speed and professional strength. Her reading of defensive schemes sharpens with every game she plays, every film session she completes, every adjustment and counter-adjustment she processes. She is operating at a level that has no precedent in the history of women's basketball, and she is doing it at the very beginning of her physical and mental prime, before the years of professional competition have fully sharpened her instincts, before her body has fully adapted to the pace and physicality of the WNBA. Before she has exhausted the growth that comes from simply playing more games at the highest level. The floor she is standing on right now, the version that is already unguardable, already record-breaking, already franchise-transforming, is someone else's ceiling. Players dream of reaching the level she's operating at in her first year. Careers are considered successful if they touch it for a single season. For Clark, that level is the starting point, the baseline, the minimum, and she has not started climbing yet. What does year 3 look like? Year 5? What does a fully physically mature, seasoned Caitlin Clark, with 3 years of reading professional defensive schemes and building on everything she already knows, look like on a basketball floor? If her development continues on its current trajectory, and nothing in the observable evidence suggests it won't, we are watching the most complete offensive player in the history of women's basketball construct her prime in real time. And the WNBA, for all the talent and all the coaching and all the scheming, has not yet produced a defensive answer for what she is right now, the version that hasn't peaked. So here is the question worth sitting with. Every team in this league has spent the offseason studying film, installing new schemes, and designing coverages specifically meant to slow down one player. New traps, new switching assignments, new physical game plans. Smart coaches working the problem from every angle they can find. And here's what the data actually suggests. Some of those schemes, the ones designed to limit her gravity on the perimeter, might inadvertently free up driving lanes she hasn't fully exploited yet. The solutions being developed might be creating new problems that are worse than the original ones. That's where we're headed in 2026, not a league that has figured her out. A league that is one step behind, adjusting to the player she was while she becomes the player she's going to be. No team in this league has a real defensive answer for Caitlin Clark. What they have are strategies for minimizing damage. What they have are schemes designed to make someone else beat them and hoping that gamble pays off on any given night. What they have is damage control dressed up in film session language. And heading into 2026, with Clark another year older, another year sharper, another year more physically adapted to everything the league can throw at her, that damage control is about to get a lot more expensive. The nightmare at half court isn't going away, it's getting worse. And the most terrifying part of all of it is that every defensive coordinator in the WNBA knows it, and none of them have found the alarm to wake themselves up.